get off on a tangent and I leave the world of factual nature behind, I will put on the opinion hat so that you know that you can just think that I'm full of crap if you want to. Rank 3 things. Oh, so if you do the rank 3 things, Magus, you have to give me the 3 things, and then I will put them in order as to my particular preference of them. So if you'd like to supply me with 3 Persian poets, I would be happy to. So, where do we go? Well, I guess we can start at the beginning. Hey, Daria Axenova. All sorts of fun people in the room tonight. For those of you that don't know, Daria Axenova, another awesome streamer, friend of the channel, awesome person. You should go check out her art. I once got extra points in U.S. history because I was wearing a Rolling Stones t-shirt. Seems legit. Okay, so we've got Rumi, Fedorowski, and Saadi. Okay, so I am partial to Rumi. I have read most of Rumi. I would say that I am a little bit of a bigger fan of... I don't know. See, that's hard, though. Because by Saadi's time, you get that good independent Iranian flavor in you. That whole... We can do Islam our way. We don't have to go be with those people over in the Abbasid world. And of course, by that point, you've also got early versions of the Ottomans showing up that are just causing trouble everywhere. This is a tough one. Hello, Mikey. Dun, 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 dun. So the thing about the list that you've given me here is I don't know if I can rank them on... so the Shahnameh is it's this giant... For those of you that are unfamiliar with Persian poetry, because I know this is sort of a niche thing, the Shahnameh is one of the longest poems that has ever been written by a single author. It's this gigantic epic of the history of Iran and their kings, and it's written by this guy, Ferdowsi. But and nothing against that. I've read most of it in translation, and I would put that pretty high up there. But Rumi's got some good little like one-liner wisdoms. You are the universe, man. That like. If you've never read any of these people, you should go give them a good look up, if you like literature. So, I might have to just put them in the order that you supplied them. I gotta love that Sufism, yeah, that Sufi stuff, that mysticism, that level of breaking out of your own mental space and getting into the kind of wider world of things. It really hits me in the feels. I do dig Mayan and Aztec history. We've actually done a stream on Mayan history. Art, let's go. I'm gonna have to put them in that order: Rumi, Ferdowsi, Saadi. I do like Saadi probably a little bit better, but I have to probably... Yeah, I mean, you bring up the Shahnameh, which is a legitimate point. So with the edge for the accomplishment, Ferdowsi edges out Saadi, if I have to say so. So there you are. Okay. Let's see. I don't actually... Ooh, well, Art, let's go. Let me go grab something real quick, and I can show you something that you might actually consider something that's worth digging. So this little guy is one of the few things that I own that I actually consider, something that should probably be like, not probably be like, but of the things that I own that could be in a museum, this guy is one of them. This little dude is probably either a Olmec or a Toltec, maybe in the bridge between them. A little household deity. And it's made out of stone. And this came from South Mexico. So, little household deity, just kind of hangs out. Pretty neat stuff. I got that from a colleague. It's a D&D mini. Not quite. It was legendary. It was in a hidden temple. The Red Jaguars found it for me. Oh, Olmec. I thought they were going to reboot that show. I can't remember. Anyway, let's talk a little bit about our topic for the night. I get sidetracked very easily, and it is perfectly fine for you to sidetrack me, by the way. I have stuff to talk about, but if we would rather talk about something else, I'm okay with that too. So, for those just joining us on Thursday nights, we do a show called Adventures in History, which is what we're in right now. And we talk about history in chronological order, which I think is something that a lot of history classes don't do. They kind of look at things topically, and you end up getting these groups of things, and they're like all jumbled out of order, and it doesn't make sense, and it's hard to put all of this stuff in the right way. So we're actually covering history in order. And right now we're in kind of the fourth or so phase of history, where we are looking at a period of time between about 400 BC and about 200 BC. And we've covered a lot of little things around the area. And we don't have to, you don't have to show up at every episode to figure out what's going on. I self-contain this as much as I can. Of course, if you'd like to show up, you can get the full kind of impact of it. But you can also catch the VODs, which I try to hold on to. Elephants. Yes, we are talking about elephants. We will be talking about elephants quite a bit tonight. So the period of time that we are in right now is about 5 or 6 decades after Alexander the Great died. And Alexander the Great had this enormous empire that he had conquered. And it basically is all of the stuff that you see on the map here. All of this stuff in Africa and Arabia and the Levant and Asia Minor and Greece and Mesopotamia and all this stuff. Also, one more side note. The little program that I'm using right here is called Google Earth, and it's amazing. It's 100% free. You can go download it on your computer if you want to. It is a satellite image of the entire world, and it's basically stitched together Google Street View. So we can zoom in on whatever we want to, wherever we want to on the world, and guess what? It's awesome. Awesome! So, Alexander the Great had died, and then all of his generals had fought over what was left of the empire. Looking forward to classics like Sabians, Gnostics, and Manichaeans, Babylon, Nineveh, and Sumer, Late Bronze Age collapse of the Roman Empire, Warring States period. Yeah, there we are. The only problem with Google Earth is that it's not flat, like the Earth, really flat. Oh, well, see, the Earth is a disc, and it's on the back of 4 elephants that are on the back of a turtle, and the turtle is flying through the air, and the turtle's name is Atuin. So, there we go. ICC people. So, we're already talking about elephants, right? And there was once a 5th elephant, and it crashed into the disc, and now it's being harvested for fat up in the Dwarven realms. For those of you that don't know, that's a big reference to Terry Pratchett's Discworld, which is one of my favorite book series. So, and you should go read those because they're satirical and they're hilarious. So let's look at a map of what's left over of Alexander's kingdom, and I'll kind of walk you through a little bit of this briefly. So we've got this map, and of course, I like to show lots of maps. So in this yellow, we have a guy named Seleucus. And in this blue, we have a guy named Ptolemy. And in the orange, we have this guy named Lysimachus. And this little pink thing over here is a guy named Epirus. And this is what's left of Greece by the time. The little blue thing over here is Rome. And this purple stuff is Carthage. So the 2 main groups that we're going to be talking about tonight are these guys, the Seleucids, and these guys, the Ptolemies. And they looked like this. This guy is named Ptolemy, and it's spelled with a P. And I'm typing it out here, and you can't see it because I'm typing on top of the image. So Ptolemy is a Greek guy that took over in Egypt, and he decided that he kind of wanted to be a little bit more Egyptian than that. So he actually had himself crowned pharaoh, which is why you can see him decked out like a pharaoh right here. And the other guy is this dude whose eyes look deep into your soul as if it were staring at the very essence of your being. This guy's name is Seleucus. And he is... Turn it off. Okay. So these two guys, Ptolemy the First, he's touching your soul. Is that a reference to the tick when he has the sentient mustache? It's touching my brain. If so, I got that reference. Yes, spoiler alert, Seleucus and Ptolemy hate each other's guts because they were kind of the last two big people standing at the end of this big argument, and they both wanted to take over everything. Who doesn't want to rule everything, right? Who wants to be king of the world? These two guys and Leonardo DiCaprio. So you can see their names below here. Ptolemy the First, and his nickname is Soter, which in Greek means the savior, because he thought he was big and hot and stuff like that. And then you have Seleucus the First, Nikator, which is the victor, because he beat up people and kind of rubbed it in everybody's face. Everybody wants to rule the world. If I could sing better and knew the rest of the lyrics, I would sing that song for you, but I don't and I can't. So, or I can't and I don't, whichever way around. So these guys are going to duke it out over what's left. And here's the thing. They don't like each other, but they both have issues of their own. And Ptolemy, the first guy, really kind of wants to run everything in the Mediterranean. And that's this big blue honking thing right here. And he wants to run all these little islands, and he wants to conquer Greece again. Everybody wants to rule that stuff. And Seleucus wants to rule everything over here in Asia, especially over here in India. Hey, Lumpy Dragon Potato. How's it going? Glad to see you. And these are the last two of the kind of big followers. And Ptolemy's going to do something kind of weird, right? So Ptolemy's sons are also all named Ptolemy, and I know that's going to get kind of weird and kind of confusing, and trust me, it can be. So Ptolemy's oldest son is this guy named Ptolemy Keranos, which is Greek for the lightning bolt. Yeah. Hopefully that's more of a reference on his strength and not his speed, if you get my drift there. Now you can see historic places with VR. Google has some awesome extensions to use with VR. Huh. I did not know that. I have not a VR. I have this weird problem with peripheral vision. I have really, really broad peripheral vision, and VR just makes me kind of sick to my stomach. Dead tired again. Lab work was grueling today. You stuck the landing despite faulty equipment. Well done, sir. Ptolemy in Alexandria. That is accurate. So Ptolemy decides that he's not going to give his oldest son the kingdom. And this is a kind of a weird move, right? If you're an old guy and you're getting kind of up in the age, you want to give your son a bit of a chance to kind of co-rule with you, right? You want to bring him in and sit him down and say, here's how it goes, son. You know, you're going to rule like this. But here's the crazy thing about all of these leaders. They had like 6 wives. And they all had sons with all of these different wives. And they could never really pick which one was their favorite. And, you know, there's that saying about picking between your kids, like which favorite of your kids is going to, you know, which is, you're not supposed to be able to pick favorites. Well, Ptolemy picked favorites, and it wasn't his oldest. Don't screw this up. But which Ptolemy and which Alexandria? Okay, ask George Foreman, who named all of his children George Foreman. Right. So Ptolemy is going to pass over his oldest son in favor of his second son. And his oldest son is going to run off to that orange place that I showed you to hang out with a guy named Lysimachus. Now, Lysimachus was kind of a leftover dude. He looks like this. He's having a bad nose day. But this is Lysimachus. And So Ptolemy's son is going to run off and hang out with this guy, who also happened to be kind of one of Alexander's buddies back when Alexander was alive, and start some trouble. Because if Dad's not going to give me the kingdom, well, I'm by goodness going to make my own kingdom. I'm going to be make myself king of Macedon or something like that. And this is, of course, going to cause issues. Because when Ptolemy shows up, this is the son, Ptolemy Karanos, when he shows up in Greece and hangs out with Lysimachus, he really wants to take over. So he's going to marry Lysimachus's daughter and then try to run him out of power. And it's going to get really messy. And suddenly the heirs that should have taken over in Lysimachus's kingdom are going to die. And guess who's left? Ptolemy Karanos. Yeah. Everybody suspects this guy. So he's going to be kind of like in charge now, right? Finger quotes in charge. Well, his sister, who is also married to Lysimachus's son, lots of intermarrying in these families, by the way, runs off to Seleucus and goes, that guy is mean and he's killing those people over there. And also, if he takes over, my son can't rule. Hey, Life of Mamba, how's it going? And Dad did take big exception to that, but he died. Ptolemy the First dies in 282 because he's old, like old. And not like, oh, he was 45. No, like he was old. So he is going to die, and we're going to get Ptolemy the Second, and he gets a new nickname. Ptolemy the Second Philadelphus. Oh, that's actually too big to show up on the screen. I'm going to shrink that font. Gotta love all these people's names. And for those of you Greek scholars, you'll know that Philadelphus means the lover of my brother. Because he didn't immediately go kill his brother that had tried to usurp the throne of another kingdom. Instead, he's just going to let Seleucus do it. Because Seleucus is going to invade Greece and go, you got to go. Because you done started trouble. And assassination is a big deal. So he's going to go kill Lysimachus because why not? But then Seleucus is actually going to get killed by the other Ptolemy. Ptolemy Karanos. Everybody's dying and nobody knows what's for. Right? Philadelphia forever. The land of cream cheese. So Seleucus gets assassinated. And that's all for him, right? Well, here's the deal. Now we have some problems. As if we didn't have problems before. Opinion. Okay, I got to put on the opinion hat. I don't know if I need to answer this in an opinion form. I might be able to just answer this in a factual form. Were people short all through history? You went to a boat museum and the beds of a boat from the 1800s were tiny. Yeah. So here's the thing. We are tall today because we have neonatal vitamins and we understand what nutrition is. People back in the day when they had a baby, they were just like, oh, just keep drinking and, keep working out on the farm and, I'll eat some bread and maybe throw some fruit every now and then so that I don't catch scurvy or one of these other great diseases that happen, because I don't have niacin in my diet, all that fun stuff. So yeah, people just didn't grow as much because they didn't have nutrients like we do. And that wasn't because they're dumb, they just don't really understand stuff, right? We don't have microscopes invented until like the 1700s. And even then, we don't really start understanding what's the little stuff floating around in there for quite some time. And we don't get chemical processes until like the late 1800s. So we don't understand stuff like, oh, there's this thing called vitamin C, and it's for real good for you. That's what's in the fruit. So you could just make vitamin C and you ain't got to eat that apple if you don't want to. I mean, it's good, but you ain't got to eat it. You can just take this pill, right? But yeah, people were short back then. Which is crazy because like when the people are tall, like when you have people that have well-rounded diets and they eat, lots of protein and they take care of themselves, big old people show up like Viking folks, and everybody's like, why are the devil or the Vikings so scary? It's because they're like 6.5 feet tall, and people back then were like, 5.5 feet tall, and that's a big difference. But, people could get tall back then. You just had to be like in really good shape, and you had to have really good diet when you were growing up, and have a good diet when your mom had to have a good diet when she was pregnant with you and stuff like that. So, tall, sad face. People had maybe like 2 out of 5 food groups. Yeah, really. They had more like a food step instead of a food pyramid. Food step. I'm making myself giggle. Do I know about how tall they were? Yeah, actually, great thing about digging up dead folk is that we can look at their bones, and we can do comparative anatomy between dead people and live people. And people back in the day, they usually topped out like 5'6", 5'7" as a tall person. Napoleon, everybody's like, Napoleon was so short. He's got short guy syndrome. That was actually propaganda spread against the dude. He wasn't short. He's like 5'6". That's not short. I mean, it's short for today if you are, heightists. I'm a tall dude. I'm 6'3", and I'm weird and stand out in a crowd. They had them all: bread, wheat, beer, and more beer. Yeah, so they had the carb pyramid. Maybe that's... Have you had your carbs today? Dude, they would not have been able to handle like keto diet back then at all. Yeah, 5'6" is average height. That's fine. And people are taller today because we have better nutrition. It's just the way that it goes. And also because people today are much more picky about stuff. And yeah, I mean, my wife is this tall. Like, I can stand up and I can put my head or my chin on top of my wife's head. She's tiny. Shayna's a tall, pale, shining beacon. Yeah, you can see me at night. I'm bioluminescent. I shine in the dark. Shine bright like a diamond. Somebody's 5 foot tall. There we go. The beacons are lit. McKinnis calls for aid. And I shall answer. You heard Napoleon surrounded himself with guards who were all over 6 foot, and that made him look small. Well, yeah, I mean, if you want to make sure that you have a good screen so that nobody can shoot you, you get people that are taller than you, and they're literally body armor. Instead of having Kevlar, you have bodies that are armor. Tall enough to use your chin as a rest. Yeah, exactly. Aliens are short, though. We don't know what aliens look like. Aliens might be just little biome bacteria things floating around. Also, French inches and English inches were different. Right. I mean, the imperial system was a bit of a joke. And it kind of still is if you live in anywhere except for America and Bangladesh. Like the last 2 holdouts for the imperial system. If my friend Mac in a lab coat were in the room, he would have words to say about metric systems. Thank you for saying the imperial system is still a joke. So he was 5'2" in French inches, so when the English hear 5'2", they ran with it. Yeah, it's all propaganda. You want to say that everybody that you're fighting is small. And it's a whole sociological thing. It's presentation of self and all that fun stuff. So Ptolemy II is now the king of the Ptolemies. And Seleucus is dead because he got assassinated by this guy's brother. And we're going to get a new leader called Antiochus. Dun, 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 dun. Antiochus. This is Antiochus the First. And his nickname is Soter because he's going to steal that from the other guy. He's not the only guy that could be a savior. I'm going to be a savior. So, here's the difference. When Ptolemy the Older dies, Ptolemy II takes over really peacefully. It's just kind of like, yeah, okay, that dude was old. I'm going to take over now. When Seleucus dies, he got assassinated, and there's a little bit of a rough transition, if you will. Because Antiochus I is not really expecting. He's not sitting around like, getting his transition team in order. This is more like, oh, crud, hey, guess what? Your dad died, and now you're the emperor. Way to go. I still remember the guy who pronounced it Antiochus. Oh, no. Somebody doesn't know their Greek pronunciations. Yeah, it's Antiochus. There we go. They use the same tactics now, making comments about leaders' hand sizes. I promise my hands are fine. They're of nice size, big, strong hands. But I couldn't hold on to the little man and his racing snail. Just big, strong hands. I used to think they were big, strong hands. That is a double layer entendre joke thing, and if you got all of that, thumbs up. Anyway, I see people sighing, and that means they got the joke. That was, by the way, Rockbiter from Neverending Story, who was sitting at the end of the world talking to Atreyu about how he couldn't save his friends, even though he had big, strong hands. I love Neverending Story. I had a massive crush on the childlike empress when I was a little kid. There we go. I liked Neverending Story song before it was cool. Thanks, Stranger Things. Anyway, Antiochus has to go off and fight a whole bunch of rebellions, because when his dad dies, a lot of these people that were in the Seleucid Empire were just like, alright, he's gone, let's play. And all these folks over here, out in the Asia region, just decided it's free time, and we're going to go out on recess. So Antiochus has to hoof it over here and fight with all of these people. And this is going to keep him a little busy for a little while. And that's actually quite good for Ptolemy, because he's going to take the opportunity to expand his empire. While the bad guy's away, take out the smaller folk, right? Makes sense. So Ptolemy II is going to expand his kingdom down here into what is modern-day Sudan, but it was the ancient kingdom of Kush, which has nothing to do with marijuana. I haven't seen a false advertisement claiming bigger than the Neverending Story. Wait, I haven't seen a false advertisement claim bigger than the Neverending Story. Oh, because it then had an ending, right? That makes you feel old because you went to see the second one in the movie theater. Second one, not so good. I watched it, but I wish for another step and another and another, and I'll just totally give away all of my memories instead of just saying, I wish for steps all the way up the tower. Plot hole. I saw both in theaters. Hey man, I still own the DVD of the first one, and I break it out every now and then and watch it. Falcor is my homie. I would totally love a shirt that said that and had like Falcor on it and really bad like 80s lettering. I would totally wear that shirt. Falcor is my homie. I saw a really great cosplay the other day picture. This little kid, probably maybe 12, 13, maybe 11, younger kid, was at some sort of comic convention dressed as Atreyu, but had the horse head kind of mask thingy and would put it on the floor and pull on the bridle like it was Artax. I thought that was hilarious. Oh, Life of Mamba, you sweet summer child. If you don't know who Falcor is, I feel for you. He's a luck dragon. And you should love him and cuddle him. And not stick him with big needles. Yeah. Anyway, Philadelphus is going to go down here into the Kush world. Oh, you've seen it? Okay, cool. You looked him up. You've seen that one. Awesome, good stuff. He's going to come down here and beat these guys up. Because here's the thing. This area was not really something that a lot of the Greek people had gotten down into yet. And it also had lots of gold. But there's also something down there in this central part of Africa that people really wanted at this time period. Anybody want to guess? Big things come from Africa, might be useful to a guy wanting to fight a whole bunch of wars. Anybody? Yeah. The actress who played the Empress has received proposals from grown men at the time. Ooh, that's crazy. Gold, yes, does have gold. Lots of it. And that's definitely something that people are after. And this gives a nice big influx of money. Not hippos, but elephants. No, not those, Cave Geek. Churches, very small rocks. No churches yet. Christianity is still a couple hundred years away. He wants the elephants because he finds out that there's elephants down here. And And elephants are crazy because you can use them in warfare and they step on people. There we go. Yep. So expand down south, get some elephants, bring them back up here, flex, show everybody how many elephants you've got, count your elephants in public, parade your elephants. Yeah. This was the thing back in the day, right? You didn't show everybody your big line of cars. You showed everybody your giant line of elephants and like, look how powerful I am. Boom. Yeah. You can't win wars if you don't have taco night. What do you mean, Asian or African elephant? The elephant brings all the boys to the yard. There we are. As they say, don't count your elephants before they hatch in public. I've heard this wisdom before. Wait, were elephants? Please tell me they had armor. They did have armor. And they had towers on top of their backs that were full of bow people that shot arrows at bad guys. Yep, it's the Oliphants. Anyway, so while Antiochus is over beating up some people in the east and trying to pacify his rebels, Ptolemy's finding his own source of elephants. And as soon as he finds out that he has elephants, everybody wants his elephants. And there's a guy... Oh, I've forgotten to show you pictures of these guys. Okay, so this is like Symmachus again. This strapping young guy is Ptolemy II Philadelphus. Look at that handsome mug. He looks like a guy that has some elephants. Even if today you show off your elephants, it's a power move, but it also confuses people. Reminds me of the skinks on the back of the Triceratops in Warhammer. There we go. Did the elephants also have turbo booster jets? No, we hadn't invented fuel yet. So this, Ptolemy II, this handsome devil right here is Antiochus I. And it's a bit of a small photo of him, and it's of course on a coin, which is one of the only verifiable pictures of this guy. Looks like Nathan Fillion. Well, if we're ever going to make a movie of the Hellenistic period in Egypt, we will call up Nathan Fillion to be Antiochus I. Unfortunately, you're probably not going to like what happens to that guy. I don't know. For those of you that might be interested, this guy on the other side of the coin is Apollo the god, and he's actually sitting on something called an omphalos, which is a belly button. Yep. But this refers to the oracle at Delphi, and you probably don't need to worry about all of that stuff. But he is holding in his hand a reed pipe. Does the elephant sit on him? No, not quite. But this guy, this handsome devil, is a guy named Pyrrhus. Pyrrhus is the king of a kingdom called Epirus. So Pyrrhus of Epirus. Yeah, it's kind of a rhymey thing. So here's the thing about Pyrrhus. He's over here in Greece. Not Guy Fieri, no. Pyrrhus is over here. And there is a group of people over on this Italian peninsula that are causing a bit of trouble. And they're growing and they're expanding and they're causing the Greek people down here in southern Greece to get a little upset. So the southern Greeks actually go over here and they say, hey, Pyrrhus, you should come help us because you're a Greek and we're a Greek and we should fight these Roman guys. And Pyrrhus is like, that sounds great. I'd love to come over and take over all of your territory. I mean, I'd love to come over and help you make sure that Rome doesn't take over all of your territory. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. And so Pyrrhus decides, I know what the Romans haven't ever seen before in battle, and I've got a nasty little surprise for them. Anybody want to know what it is? Anybody want to guess what it is? Anybody want to guess? It's the elephants. Yeah. Pyrrhus asks Ptolemy, hey, friend, heard you got some elephants. You wanna let me borrow some of them there elephants? And Ptolemy is like, sure, I'll send you some elephants. I got tons. So Ptolemy sends Pyrrhus some elephants, and Pyrrhus brings those over into the Roman territory, and these guys have a heart attack. Rome does not like elephants. Rome hates elephants. Rome thinks elephants are horrible. At one point, Rome tries to pass a law that bans people from using elephants in warfare against them. Like, you can't do it. We don't agree. Hippos. No, not hippos. No, not... here's your friend Lee facing off against a giant female in Africa. Okay. Oh, hey, Half Design. How's it going, my friend? Welcome, welcome. Okay, so that's a video. That's a big elephant. I can sense that your friend... Oh, please tell me he's not going to shoot that elephant. All's fair in love and war. War opossums. War possums sounds like a song. Possums gather in their masses. What do elephants think about Rome? Well, they think that the Romans are squishy. And then when the Romans figure out, hey, elephants have eyeballs, and if we throw javelins at their face, it will poke out their eyeballs, then the elephants change their mind about the Romans and think that they're big jerks. So, he's been a guide in Africa for decades, never once shot an animal. Is the law that they have to carry a large caliber rifle? Yeah, there are big honking things that want to eat you in Africa. I can respect that. So Pyrrhus brings all these elephants over. They beat up Rome, and then Rome figures out how to kill elephants, and then they beat the mess out of Pyrrhus. And if you've ever heard of the phrase Pyrrhic victory before, it's after this guy. He won a couple of battles against Rome and lost a big chunk of his army, and he's pretty famous for saying this little phrase. It's like, if we have too many more victories against Rome, our kingdom's going to collapse. Because Romans were putting up pretty big fights against these things. So he didn't want to waste all of the elephants, so he left some of them at home and went back home, and Rome is going to expand, and that's kind of a little story for another day. We'll come back to those guys later on. But Ptolemy is loving this because everybody is his buddy. Everybody is hanging out with him. He's being nice. He's taking over territory. Things are going pretty great for this guy. But now we're getting to the thick of things because we got to talk about Syria, which is going to bring us to the title of tonight's stream, Why So Syria? Would you like to know how I got this trade route? Did they ever use war dogs? They did. Romans used war dogs quite frequently. What game has Pyrrhic victory? Not certain. Maybe Clash of Clans? No, not Clash of Clans. I'm not certain. Lots of murdery things in the savannah. Correct. For reference, if you've ever watched Ruby, Pyrrhonikos is a gender flip version of that guy. Did not know that. War dogs are better than war elephants? I would think probably not. They would use war dogs more than war elephants because Rome at that point didn't have elephants. But here's the thing. This region right here is Syria. I can show you the modern borders of Syria. It's this guy right here. Boop. But the modern borders are not the same as the ancient borders. Usually when we say Syria, we're kind of talking about this general region right here. And this is a pretty important region for a few big reasons. Number one, trade routes. If you notice where Syria sits, you can kind of look at it. So look at the negative space here. For those of you that are art people, this will be easy for you because you see negative space all the time. If you look at the negative space, you can see that right here we have a big plus symbol, right? So there's a north-south and then there's an east-west. And both of these plus symbols converge, well, guess what? Right here in Syria. Also, it sits in some pretty nice geographic areas because through the mountains, you have passes through the mountains here. And you have access along these rivers to get down to the Persian Gulf. And you have a port here on the Mediterranean, which is nice. So this area is super fancy. And one thing that I tell my students when I teach in class is that you can draw a circle on Earth, probably right about here, right about like this. And there have been more battles fought inside that circle in history than outside that circle. Because this is the crossroads of ancient cultures. everybody wants to hold Syria. Everybody wants the trade going through there. Everybody wants the tactical advantage of holding on to this location. Everybody wants that region. Israel, Lebanon, Syria, the first truck stops out of Africa. Accurate stuff. When we are migrating, it's one of the first places we get to. What about war cats? I'm unfamiliar with war cats. I know Thundercats, and I know Battle Cat, and I know SWAT cats, but I don't know war cats. I don't know war cats. The first superhighway, pretty close. One of the birthplaces of civilization, absolutely. So everybody wants to hold this, and it just so happens that it is on the border between the territory that Ptolemy controls and the territory that Seleucus controls, or now Antiochus controls. Everybody wants Syria. And this is going to be a problem. Samurai Pizza Cats. I forgot Samurai Pizza Cats. I apologize. Everybody wants it. But only one person can hold it. Because that's kind of the thing, right? So there's going to be a fight. This is called the First Syrian War. There are lots of them, by the way. And this is from 274 to 271 BC. And Antiochus kind of launches a surprise attack. Because Ptolemy was holding this area to begin with. And, well, Antiochus wants it. Antiochus, though, was kind of worn out. Because he's having to fight all these wars out east. And Ptolemy's got his own elephants now. So elephant versus elephants, you kind of cancel each other out. It's like a big math fraction, right? So there we go. Anyway, sneak attack. Boom! I'm not walking anymore. I'm staying here. And thus began a chain of battles over land that lasts a few tens of thousands of years. Right, pretty much. What number is the modern Syria war? Oh my good gracious. Hundreds. The modern Syria war is the Syrian civil war. It started in 2011, still ongoing. This is between Bashar al-Assad and various other rebel groups inside of the country. At one time had ISIS, still technically has ISIS fighters. It's a big old mess. Now it has Russia. Syrian civil war, now with more Russia. Yeah, 11,000. Rocky 5,000. There we go. So, anyway, they fight. Antiochus kind of hits this sneak attack. Ptolemy counterattacks. Neither side can really do anything. Ptolemy holds his ground. Antiochus can't really push him out all the way. So, after about 3 years of fighting, nothing. Nice UHF. I'm glad somebody's getting all of the stuff that I'm throwing out there. So, Ptolemy is now kind of sitting pretty. Like, hey, I survived a sneak attack. I've got elephants. I've got gold. I got friends. Antiochus is licking wounds. What am I going to do? And Ptolemy decides to start building stuff. And this is going to be some pretty impressive stuff right here that he starts building. So, if we look here at Egypt, the Nile River actually branches out lots of different ways when we get here close to the Mediterranean. So you see all these little squiggles. This is part of the Nile River. This triangular area is called the Delta. But does he have the spice? He doesn't. He doesn't control Arrakis. At that point, it's still in the hands of the Harkonnens. So, but he did have a desert, yeah. So in one of these branches, this one that goes out here, Ptolemy's going to get this crazy idea. Ptolemy has a big old navy in the Mediterranean. And he gets the idea that if he could sail his ships from the Mediterranean to the Red Sea, man, that would be awesome. So he's going to dig a trench. And you thought that the modern Suez Canal was the first thing that linked the Mediterranean with the Red Sea. You'd be wrong, my friends, because Ptolemy Philadelphus builds a gigantic trench that connects these two. And that means that he can sail his ships into the Red Sea. And guess what that means? That means he can attack Seleucus on multiple fronts. Elephants on ships? No, not that far. But he is going to start settling down this coastline. I need to zoom out a little bit. Red Sea coastline gets new levels of habitation. Also, if you want to grow more people, you got to grow more food. So what does Ptolemy do? He decides he wants to build a giant honking oasis. And it just so happens that there's this region right here that was a natural basin, not too far away from the flow of the Nile River. And he decides if we're going to be digging big old trenches, we might as well build some real big old trenches. And he cuts a trench that connects this natural basin here to the Nile River so that when the Nile floods, this whole area also floods. And this region is now called the Fayum, and it increased the amount of productivity and population in Egypt by a ton. Also, if you played Assassin's Creed Origins, the main characters from the Fayum. Video games have history in them. Digging ditches and isthmuses? Yep, exactly. It's super effective. Right, there we are. So Philadelphus is just building stuff and growing stuff, and things are going great for him. Antiochus is not having such a good time. He's fighting folk, he's losing folk, and when he loses this battle right here for Syria, a lot of these people over here in his territory are like, he's weak. And there's a city over here called Pergamum. And Pergamum's going to decide, we're just going to set up our own kingdom. And so they do. They just break away. And Antiochus is having so many problems, man. He's just like, he's got to kill one of his sons because his son tries to rebel against him. And all these people out in the east are rebelling against him. Then all the people in the west are rebelling against him. He's just not having a good go of it. And he dies in 261, kind of sad. So this is why I was telling you that if you wanted Nathan Fillion to be a compassionate character, he dies sad and kind of lonely and alone. AC is largely accurate. I don't know about that. I could argue with some of the points of those. Some of them are better than others. We'll just put it at that. Some of them are way better than others. Assassin's Creed 3 was horrible of history. Anyway, that's my opinion. I should be wearing the opinion hat. So, Antiochus I, he dies. And his son takes over. This is Antiochus II Theos, which means the god. And if you're thinking, this guy must be really good looking. He's a guy. This is Antiochus II, the god. Yeah. Okay. Swipe left. So, Antiochus, the god, takes over. What's he going to do? He's going to do what his daddy couldn't do. He's going to go take Syria. So he shows up. He immediately attacks Syria. Like, he takes over in 261. In the next year, boom, we're going to go attack. We're going to go get Syria. Because I said so. Guess what? It don't work either. And not only does it not work, when he attacks, Ptolemy decides, I've beaten you, and I'm just going to keep going. Because if you're weak, I'm just going to steal land from you. And Ptolemy ends up expanding a lot into Asia Minor over here. And man, the god, for all of his godliness, not so great. And so Ptolemy gets a little bit too big for his britches. And he keeps expanding and expanding and expanding. And eventually, even the smartest people do dumb stuff. Well, we're in Antiochus II right now. We're not to a Seleucus. But as Antiochus did take exception to this. And when Ptolemy is running around over here, he's like, I'm just going to go ahead and take Greece too. Well, at that point, it doesn't take much for Antiochus to get his act together and stick one really bad in the side and attack here and kind of cuts off a lot of this territory that Ptolemy had taken. Ptolemy, victim of perhaps the ego, right? You get a little bit of victory and you're happy. You get a little bit of more victory and then you're happy. And then you start building all kinds of stuff and you're happy. And then you have a big victory and you're just like, I'm invincible. I got the gold star. It's going, yeah. And then the star runs out and you hit the chompy thing and then you're gone, right? So Ptolemy expands too fast. Antiochus manages to put together a counterattack and cuts him off. And Ptolemy then has to go, hey, guy, yeah. I was totally going to give all that land back to you. I was just trying to give you like a lesson in strategy, you know? I was just like trying to kind of tell you about stuff. With great ego comes great irresponsibility. That's a great one. I like that a lot. So here's what has to happen now. You got beat. You got beat kind of bad. So what you gonna do? Well, it just so happens that Antiochus would like another wife because why not? So Ptolemy's got a daughter. Why not marry the two of them together? And so that sounds like a good idea. I'm going to give you my daughter and you're going to marry her and now we'll be friends. And Antiochus is like, I'm not going to let you off with just that, because if you're going to give me a wife, you've got to pay me a dowry. And this is like the backstabby stuff. Got to keep the bloodlines pure. Yeah, they're all married to each other. This family tree is like a family spider web. Makes sense to me, right? Pay me a lot of money because I managed to capitalize on your ego and beat you. So give me some money with that daughter. And, yeah, he has to. So Ptolemy, a little bit of a mess there. So he goes back home and has to kind of lick his wounds for a little bit. And, well, guess what? Antiochus is like, yeah, I'm doing happy now. I beat Ptolemy. I'm all good. And guess what? Those people back in the east, they rebel again. Yeah. Yeah. And this rebellion is going to be pretty bad. He's my uncle, father, cousin. I'm my own grandfather. So all of this territory over here was part of the Seleucid Empire. And they're going to go, we're kind of done with you. Can we just like get our food to go and like, sever ties? Can we consciously uncouple ourselves? It was not the Jewish people rebelling again. We're working towards that, but not quite. So this whole region over here decides we're going to declare ourselves our own kingdom, and this is called the Kingdom of the Greco-Bactrians, which is a great total name for a country. Bactria. There's some camels that come from out that way. They're the ones with two humps. Anyway, so now Antiochus has to run over here. Like, hey, I won. Why are you fighting against me? You're over there fighting, and you barely won, and you're weak, and we're going to rebel. So Antiochus has to go fight off those guys. Well, by this point, Ptolemy Philadelphus is getting pretty old. And he dies peacefully. And we're going to get another Ptolemy because they're all named Ptolemy. Because, what kind of Ptolemy is a Ptolemy if his name is not Ptolemy? That's supposed to be T's. I can't... for those of you that might be new to the stream, I can't speak and type at the same time. My brain goes like... this is Ptolemy III, Euergetes. Did they all sound like this? Yeah, pretty much. Ptolemy III, Euergetes. Euergetes means the benefactor. And there's a reason he's called the benefactor. Because there's some problems in Egypt at this point. Ptolemy II had lost, had given away a lot of money, had expanded really big, and had gotten a bit too big for his toga. And there's going to be some changes of situation here. Seleucids kind of get their stuff together a little bit, and they're losing ground. So they're maybe not completely on the upside, but it's going to get over to the Ptolemies, and they're going to be trouble. And there's some problems with their southern territories down in Kush, and some of their western territory out in a region called Cyrene. And Ptolemy III, even though he's a young guy and has a young daughter, is going to have to marry off his daughters to make peace, which is never a position that you want to be in. And it's not looking so great for Euergetes. But then something kind of fun happens for him. And Antiochus II suddenly dies. And when I say suddenly, it's like, what happened to that guy? Did I just say that they were going to be in trouble? I did. I'm glad you caught that. Trouble. Yeah, Antiochus II dies rather suddenly. And we end up with Seleucus II. And his nickname is Callinicus, which is pretty great. This is one of my favorites. It means the gloriously triumphant. That's a great name. But people call him Pogon, which is not so fun. Anybody Greek scholar know what Pogon means? Oh yes, that's my nickname too. Humble brag. Pogon means the beard. Budget Pokemon. Pretty much. So he goes, I am the gloriously triumphant. And some people just go, you're the beard. Whatever. That's kind of a lame nickname. What do these guys look like? This is Euergetes. And you'll notice something that's a little bit different than his brother. Let me zip back here. So his brother looked like this, which is, if you'll notice, that's kind of a Greek-looking statue, because Ptolemy II was kind of a Greek dude. This guy is Egyptian-looking statue. Now you want to see this beard? Yeah, see, that's the thing. It wasn't that impressive because I couldn't even find pictures of it. So this is... Here we go. This is Callinicus, and this is the best beard picture that I could find, and I can't tell if this is actually meant to be a beard or if this is just divots on the coin. But if that's supposed to be his beard, I'm not impressed. I could not find a good picture of the beard. But if that's it, that's scruffy. Pogonophiles rejoice. Picture didn't happen. Now you want to see the beard. Riot lame. Yes. Maybe that was the joke. He didn't have a beard. Maybe it was like Little John. There we go. Maybe he was self-conscious about the beard and never let people draw it. I like all of these theories. All of these theories are making me happy. So, what are we to do? Well, here's what we're going to do. Seleucus II was another one of these like, holy crap, now I'm king. What am I going to do? Crazy stuff. What's going on here? Sudden death. Crazy stuff happens. Let's fight another war in Syria, because, why not? So this is the Third Syrian War, by the way. And the Third Syrian War is from 246 to 241, and nothing really happens. The Ptolemies take a big city on the coastline of Syria, and that's about it. And I mean, it is a big city. It's a big trading city, but that's really all that kind of changes hands here. Yeah. Woo! And then what are you going to do if you're Ptolemy? Well, if that's all that you took, you better have something to show for it, right? So he decides, well, we've got this city, and we should totally go get some more stuff, right? I mean, we've got one city. Is that enough to make people at home happy? Do we need to go take some more? Maybe we could invade Mesopotamia over here? Seems like a plan, maybe. So he invades, but it doesn't go so great. And while he's over there, people at home know he's not doing so great. And so what happens? Well, the Egyptians, like the native Egyptian people, go, maybe these Greeks are just dumb, and maybe we need to go back to being Egyptian. And maybe we should just kind of push out a lot of this Greek influence. So Euergetes has to like hoof it back home as fast as he can, and when he gets there, he has to put down this rebellion of the Egyptian people. And that's why you see him wearing the Egyptian stuff. Because this guy is going to... He's going to get, like, real serious about this Pharaoh stuff. He's going to dress like the Pharaoh. He's going to talk like the Pharaoh. He's going to walk like the Egyptian. The Bengals are going to be involved. Everybody is just all about Egyptian stuff. He brings back the Egyptian gods. We're having more Egyptian festivals. We're telling everybody that we're Egyptians and we're doing the Egyptian thing. And hopefully that's going to keep us in power. And you know what? It works. It turns out that if you tell the people that you're ruling you want to be like them, they kind of like that idea. Go figure. So Euergetes, despite having a bit of a problem holding on to this Mesopotamian thing, he's going to end up with a lot of power in the Mediterranean because he's got most of these port cities and he's got control of northern Syria and he's got all of this coastline now because he's made peace with northern Africa and it's sitting pretty good. And man, is he making money off of this trade stuff. And you go, okay, so he's doing all right. What about Seleucus? What about the gloriously triumphant? He's losing. A 100-year-old vampire hangs out his crib waiting for two guys named Jojo. I have not seen JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, so unfortunately, I don't get that reference. Maybe he was transitioning to testosterone, Persian-dominated. Well, it's funny that you mentioned Persia half-design, because the Persians are going to kind of make a move here. In real life, most ancient Egyptian men were clean-shaven, but pharaohs often wore fake beards, usually made out of metal as a symbol of their connection to the gods. Contemporary depictions of Hatshepsut portray her traditionally in feminine clothing wearing a false beard. Correct, and it was attached with beeswax. Hatshepsut, by the way, a ruling pharaoh of the 18th dynasty of Egypt. Mother of a guy named Thutmose III, who was the most powerful Egyptian pharaoh in history. Courtesy of the internet. Thanks, Vern. Bing. Yeah. Hence Pogon. Yeah, so what's going on over here with old Seleucus? What's you up to, bud? Fighting any more rebellions? Actually, yes. Big old rebellions. Especially ones in this region called Parthia. There's a guy named Arsaces. And he is a Parthian. He was a satrap of the Seleucid Empire, but he decides that it's time for him to be a little bit more independent. Because if all these kingdoms out further east are going to be independent, why not Parthia be independent? Because we don't like the Seleucids either. I mean, we're here and we'll do what they tell us to do if they show up with a big old army. But if they're over there fighting those Ptolemies, heck, we can be free, right? Right? Tetanus the Turd? I don't know who Tetanus is. Sounds sassy. Yeah, Arsaces is a pretty successful guy. He is the ruler of the first independent Parthian kingdom, and the Parthians will be a big old deal later on. We'll get back to the Parthians. Putting a bookmark right there. So we've got Bactrian kingdoms breaking free. We've got Greek kingdoms over here in Asia breaking free. We've got the Parthians breaking free. Seleucus is in bad shape, and it looks like it's only going to get worse because guess what? His half-brother decides that maybe Seleucus shouldn't be ruling the empire. Maybe Seleucus is kind of a jerk, and the gloriously triumphant is kind of a fake name, and he shouldn't be called Callinicus, because he's not winning very much. He's going to get so tired of winning. You're not winning. You don't have tiger blood. So his own brother is going to start a war against him, and guess what his brother's name is? It's Antiochus, and his nickname is Hyrax. And this is my favorite for the whole night. Antiochus Hyrax, which is Antiochus the Hawk. which I think is a great nickname. And he looks like this, which is crazy because he has more of a beard than his friend and brother or half-brother who was nicknamed the Beard. And we only have 3 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Yeah, things are kind of spiraling out of control here for the Seleucid Empire. This is Antiochus Hierax. And again, we've got Apollo here with an arrow sitting on the omphalos, and Antiochus Hierax. Well, Hierax decides, I'm just going to declare myself king. Because my brother sucks, and he can't stop me because he's losing wars like everywhere. What are they going to do? Try to stop me? Of course they're going to try to stop him. So now we have a civil war. Yeah, brother versus brother. Family civil war. Next time on Mari. Yeah. So the Hawk is going to set himself up an independent kingdom over here on the borders of Syria. All I do is win, 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 win. Except for not. Because all Seleucus was doing was lose, 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 lose. Yeah. So Hierax starts himself a little kingdom over here, and he actually manages to take away some of this territory from the Ptolemies. The lie detector determined that was a lie. Yeah, right. I feel like this needs an improvised finger puppet show interacting what you're saying. So Hierax said, I hate you. I'm going to make my own kingdom. And Seleucus II said, no, you can't do that because I'm king. And Hierax is like, I'm a giant robot from thousands of years in the future, and I have friggin' Gundam armor. And nah. And Seleucus is like, done. So Antiochus Hierax ends up making himself a neat little kingdom and takes the city of Antioch and starts expanding. And he really does make a pretty good run at things. And he almost manages to take over most of this Asia Minor thing over here, except for Pergamum. If you remember, Pergamum had declared itself independent. And Pergamum was not interested in being conquered by another Seleucid. Cool nickname or no. Don't care if you're called the Hawk. We're independent. And the king of Pergamum at this time is a guy named Attalus, who's actually a pretty powerful guy, who manages to stop Hierax's expansion. And at this point, when Hierax has started a rebellion and has got all this stuff worked up, and his aunt is involved, and there's family drama everywhere, and nobody's coming over for Thanksgiving, and we're just going to do immediate family gifts for Christmas this year because we just can't get along. Well, Hierax gets killed. Yep. He's gone. The Hawk has fallen. And Seleucus II is like, I'm still in charge. Woo! And then he falls off of his horse. And he falls off of his horse and bashes his brain open and dies. Yeah. Just when you thought you're going to be able to put your kingdom back together because your half-brother who was taking it away from you suddenly died in battle, you fell off your horse and died. Burn, 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 bing. Yeah. Poor old Seleucus II. Hashtag 2020. That totally sounds like something that would happen today. And Hierax died after fighting Attalus in Pergamum, and then the murder hornet showed up. Oh, yeah. The horse, however, was not harmed. Accurate. No horses were harmed in the making of this show. So, poor old Seleucus Callinicus, the gloriously triumphant, ignominiously dead on the ground. And he was just ready to get his whole thing back together. And he was just ready to go solve this war with the rebellion in Syria. And he was just going to go defeat Pergamum. And he's now gone. Yep. So his son is going to take over. Guess what his name is? Seleucus III. And his nickname is Keranos. Which again, I spelled that wrong. Keranos. Which means thunderbolt. Thunderbolt! Yeah. He's going to go over and fight this war. He's going to be the one that puts Syria down. He's going to be the one that defeats Pergamum. Yeah. Cave Geek winner of the Twitch chat. Thanks to the Academy. Nice. Ooh, neat little ribbon. Nice. You like the sound of the movie sequels here? Yeah, exactly. Seleucus III, Keranos. No, Dad, I'll do it. He's my Syria. Right. So here's the thing. He gets over. He starts fighting the war. And man, the war just doesn't go his way. He loses a lot right off the bat. If you'll note, I don't have a picture of this guy. Because he ruled for about 2 years before his own troops realized he was not the leader that they were looking for. These are not the Seleucids you're looking for. This dude is such a bad leader, his own troops kill him. Yeah. He gets assassinated by his own army because he's just that bad of a leader. Dad dang it. Friggin' Seleucids, get your act together, man. Just bring it together. Ptolemy III Euergetes over here is having the Athenians worship him like a god. And people are just like, oh, that guy's amazing. And all the Seleucids are just falling off their horse or starting rebellions or getting killed by their own people. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? Well, it just so happens that there's another Seleucid. And it's Seleucus III's brother. And guess what his name is? Anybody? Anybody? It's Antiochus. Antiochus III. His nickname is Megas. Because this is Antiochus the Great. He's great. Great leader. Big armies. Big power. Let me zoom out on this guy. This is Antiochus the Great. Or the Big. You didn't give me time to guess. Antigonus is long dead. This is why I never get history. Why is it that you never get history? Antiochus Center for Leaders that want to war good and do other things good too. What kind of empire is this? An empire for ants? Needs to be at least 10 times bigger than this. It's ironic that you said that, Half Design, because the next time we talk about the Seleucids, that dude, Antiochus III, is going to put a whipping on some folks, because he straightens the Seleucids out, and he's called the Great for a reason, and it's going to be made out of elephants. I guess the odds are in your favor if you say that the answer is Seleucus, Antiochus, or Ptolemy. Yeah, because it's all of them. So this is actually where we're going to wrap up for tonight's discussion. We have both the Seleucids and the Ptolemaic Empire in Egypt at some level of base. And I've got a nice little map here that I want to show you as a reference that kind of wraps up everything that we've been talking about tonight. Whoa! Dun, dun, dun. Unsullied. Who else? Thanks for the follow, and welcome to the adventure. I realized that I did not have my alert box on the image thing, so I need to put that on there. Thank you for letting me know that. I think we would do well in the multiple choice test at the end of the stream. See, the crazy thing is, I wouldn't actually put Antiochus, Ptolemy, or Seleucus on there. I would put all the nicknames, and you'd have to pick from the cool nicknames. So okay, here we go. Here's what we've got. Here's what's going on. Here's where we stand. So we've got a bit of a diminished Seleucid Empire. They've taken back some of this territory. They've reconquered Syria, but they're in bad shape. We've got all these independent kingdoms around here. We've got Pergamum, which is growing. We've got the good old-fashioned Greeks who have managed to put themselves together. We have the Antigonid line, who's actually not really related to Antigonus very much. And we have this growing power of Rome over here. Rome. Yeah. And of course we have Carthaginians and Iberians, and the world is getting a little bit bigger. But the Ptolemies and the Seleucids, yeah, man. They duke it out. They end up more or less back where they started. Antiochus the Third is going to change that. But that's a topic for next time. So, the beard, Giant Longest Horse Brains. These are the great nicknames. Exactly. So, friggin' cliffhangers. I know. It's because I want you to come back next time, right? So, to talk about next time, our next discussion is on Tuesday night, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. We will be talking about the Norse and their expansion to the Americas, both in ancient times and in more modern times. On the next episode of Dragon Ball Z, we're going to be talking about people over in India, the Mauryan Empire, and their elephants, and how they beat up the Seleucids. Yeah, so next Thursday, we're going to be talking about those people over in India that managed to break themselves away from the Seleucids and set up their own independent kingdoms. We're going to talk about the Mauryan Empire, one of my favorite Indian groups. Spoiler, it's just Shane powering up for 45 minutes and then side plots. Yeah, I'm just going to be standing there all day going, ah, ah, and you're going to hear a voiceover in my head like, I need more energy from the planet. Yeah. How the Indians got their groove? Yeah. And the Greeks ruled there for it too. They did. But these are going to be the guys that push the Greeks out. Get out, Greeks, and don't shut the door behind you. Bye, son. It's not even my final form. No, it isn't. All right, ladies and gents, so that's all for me from tonight, but that doesn't mean that we have to go anywhere. Remember that below you in the chat, you have all sorts of fun little things that you can do with adventure points. If you would like to redeem any adventure points, it is now the time to redeem adventure points. If you have any questions about the material that we just covered, or random history questions about anything, now is the time to let them go. And speak your piece, and claim it, or whatever you want to do. Let's slip the puppy of war. We want more puppy. Everybody loves the puppy. Let me give the puppy a call. Oh, here comes the puppy. Oh, and she has the chicken. Oh, this is her favorite toy. Come here. Where are you going? Where are you? Oh, you're under the table. You're going to emerge over here. Hey, oh, nope, you're coming up. Okay, there's a little random disembodied puppy head in my lap. Come over here. Hey, where are you going? The people would like to see you. Yes, they want to see the puppy. You want to come up here? Come on. There we go. There's the puppy. And her chicken, which is her favorite thing in the world. Oh, yes. Hello. Hello. Thank you. Yes, that smells horribly. Even though we washed it. It went through the washer and the dryer. Yeah, I know. Are you going to leave now? Okay. I do wear pants. Of course I wear pants. Moose, I see what's in the news, and I'll come right back to that. Rank 3 things: elephants, elephants, or elephants. I'm going to go with probably elephants. Then elephants and... Well, see, elephants and elephants are really, really close there for second and third, but I'll probably have to go elephants and then elephants. What was Egypt's specialty in war? Chariots originally? Yes. By this point, they were big on the archery on foot, and they did have completely adopted the Greek phalanx structure. The Macedonian version of the phalanx structure. Chicken. There we go. I do wear pants. Yes. That was more of a shot. That was not a shot of that. Streamers do wear pants. Please do not report me. I redeemed the news. Pro streamer, thumbs up. Okay. The news. What's going on in the news? Lots of stuff going on in the news. Let me think of something that I read recently. That might be... Beer? There were things in the news about beer, yeah. So let's see. Let me just open the news and we'll see the first thing that pops up that catches my eyeball. How about this? Let me just Google... let me go to world news. Let's go to world news. Let's see what's going on in the world. We've got Hong Kong in the news. We've got, 50 years. Bashar al-Assad's family has been in power 50 years as of today. That's kind of crazy. We've already talked about the Armenia and Azerbaijan issue. So I don't necessarily want to go back through that. Oh, here's an interesting... I saw this earlier. So this happened yesterday. There was a bombing yesterday in the city of Jeddah. Jeddah is in Saudi Arabia. And the bomb itself was... seemed to be aimed at a World War I ceremony. So, for those of you that are unfamiliar, Saudi Arabia became a country at the end of World War I because it participated in big rebellions against the Ottoman Empire. If you've ever heard of Lawrence of Arabia, this is T.E. Lawrence, who was responsible for contacting Arab tribes and convincing them to rebel against the ruling and dominant Ottomans. And the particular family, the Al Saud family, was basically promised free reign in this. And both the British and the French effectively turned over Saudi Arabia to the Saud family, which is why it's called Saudi Arabia. And we are, at this point in the world, in history, we are 100 years past where a lot of this stuff happened. So the Treaty of 1919, which wrapped up World War I, is called the Treaty of Versailles, and this was put together after the Paris Peace Conference in 1919, and a lot of it started going in effect around this time period, 1919 and 1920. So this particular bombing was targeting some French people that had shown up, some French ambassadors, the French consulate that were showing up in Saudi Arabia to sort of jointly celebrate 100 years of Saudi Arabian independence from the Ottomans. And the blast was supposedly targeting some of these French people. And this actually goes back to something else that's been in the news, where the French Prime Minister, a guy named Emmanuel Macron, seemed to come out in favor of a bunch of artists in France having a Draw Muhammad contest. Now, of course, in Islam, Muhammad is the prophet of Islam, and Islam does not hold with drawing depictions of people that were in the religious kind of vein of their history, because they were very much against the use of images and idols. So drawing Muhammad to a Muslim person is very, very offensive. This goes back to something that happened a few years ago with the French newspaper Charlie Hebdo, where there was actually a shooting because Charlie Hebdo was having this Draw Muhammad contest. So if you remember the hashtag Je suis Charlie, that was in reference to that. The anniversaries of that are coming up, and Macron was asked whether or not he supported people drawing pictures of Muhammad, and his answer was effectively that he supported freedom of expression and freedom of, speech, and that drawing Muhammad was something that he didn't want to ban because it would, take away people's freedom. And that was taken very, very badly in many conservative Muslim circles and countries, which leads us to the bombing that happened yesterday in Jeddah targeting French people. So there's kind of an overarching thing in the news that goes all the way back through history and brings you up to date on why some of this stuff is happening. So, random history fact, blow your brain with knowledge. I don't know, man. Happy times. If you wanted, here's a weird brain fact. Egyptians did not think that the brain was really that big of a deal. They thought that you felt love with your kidneys and that the brain was just kind of up there to make you sick. And when they got ready to mummify you, they would take this long hook, a long stick with a hook on it, and they'd poke it up your nose and poke through your nasal cavity into your brain and shoot acid up into your skull cavity and do like this to get it all hooked around this hook, and then they pull it out through your nose and put it in a jar. So there you go. There's a fun brain fact for you. The Arab-Israeli alliance. I'm not certain exactly to what that is. What is that referring? World War I, way more influential in creating what we recognize as the modern world than people recognize. I absolutely agree. About that kind of felt like a COVID test. They were dead, so at that point, they weren't really feeling very much. Does your brain hurt now? All right. Sykes-Picot Agreement. Yes, there we are. Yes, the Sykes-Picot Agreement is part of this larger period of time where the French and the British effectively drew out the map of the Middle East on a dinner napkin. And then it was ratified by the Treaty of Versailles. So, I do have one more neat little show and tell thing for you, because when I obtain art from people that you might recognize and that I want to help promote, I always try to show off art on stream. So I have a bit of a combo thing here where we're going to show you some art and then we're going to go visit the person who did the art. So last month was October, and many of you know that lots of artists do this thing called Inktober, where they draw things with ink. And I just happened to be watching a stream of a guy named Kirk Shannon, and I'll give you the link here in just a second because we're going to go raid him. And my wife and I were watching, and he was doing some really neat pieces, and I contacted him, and he let them go for a song, and I feel like I owe him at least a promo and a thank you for letting me purchase his art for what I think was far too few dollars. So we got two pieces. This is one, and they're small. They're about 4 or so 5 inches tall, but I think that is absolutely neat. He does incredible ink work with some very, very fine lines. You can see that nice, great detail there. Really, really cool stuff. And I think this one might be my favorite piece of the two. pretty neat, really cool stuff. Again, very fine detail, tiny little lines here in the skull, really great stuff. So Kirk Shannon is a great artist. We're about to go rate him, but I also need to do one more thing. I don't know if he might be lurking in the chat tonight or not, but I had a pretty rough go of things for the last couple of weeks, and I had a really rough day yesterday, and today was looking up, but I got home and I found out that one of my friends, David Peterson, who is the author and illustrator of Mouse Guard, had done me a really big solid, and I don't want to talk about the details of it, but David, if you're in the room, thank you so much. You don't know how much your gesture meant. I'm getting a little emotional just kind of talking about it. I am not worthy, and I'm wearing the Mouse Guard "It Matters Not What You Fight, But What You Fight For" shirt in honor of my friend David Peterson. If you are not following David Peterson's channel, please go do so. He is a great artist and a great guy, and he really did make my day and made my week, and it was good stuff. So thank you, David. I really appreciate that. Okay, so now that I've got the mushy bit out of the way, let's go raid Kirk. And again, I feel like I kind of stole this art from him. So when we get to Kirk's channel, our battle cry is always adventure. And if you have access to the adventure hat emote, please feel free to throw all of those into the chat as we enter. Thank all of you so much for hanging out. Thank you, Pink Epoxy, for the raid off the top. A humongous raid. Thank you to our followers for today. There are several of you that I can't remember off the top of my head. I can pull back through and see, though. Unsullied, Jules Z, thank you for the follow. Hello, Mikey. Destiny, Magus, thank you for the subscription. Cat Videos, thank you for the follow. Arch Happy for the follow. Our anonymous gifter who gifted Pink Epoxy sub, thank you so much. Cave Geek for the subscription. Thank you all for hanging out. It's been great. I really appreciate all you guys spending some time with me. I'll be back Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. I'm going to hit this raid button. We're going to go see Kirk. And I hope you all have an amazing weekend. Thank you all